everyone, it's Felicia Johnson here, diving back into my educational series. So if you don't know, I'm a mom and woman of many hats. I mean, a medical parent is one that brings me much pride and has taught me a lot of things. So it's time for me to return the favor and teach you a few things. So I know you come to my channel to be inspired, to follow along on our journey, but I just think it's so important to help others out there to really get a full picture of what it's like to be a medical parent, but also give you some tools so you can support others and just so you can be more knowledgeable. So today, in the theme of learning something, we're going to talk about how my daughter learns, how she goes to school. I think it's important because not all kids have access to education. So first, my sweet daughter was born with Fifer syndrome. There's a video here that tells you even more detail about Fifer syndrome, but I'm gonna cover a little bit because it's really important for you to understand where she is cognitively. So with Fifer syndrome, it means the plates in your skull prematurely fuses in the womb, okay? So if your brain is kind of like locked in and can't expand, like your brain continues to grow till you're four, okay? So just imagine if your skull is fused at birth, where can your brain go? It starts to put pressure on your brain, and your brain is just like anything else, like it needs to breathe, it needs that freedom. And so the pressure sometimes creates negative impact on the way that you're able to learn, because your brain does so much, from coordination to learning to breathing. It tells your body so many things. So we have had to go through, my daughter, multiple skull surgeries to give her brain a chance to breathe and to open up her skull so then it can go ahead and do its own thing, okay? So she had a big surgery that really helped her, and since then we've really seen her take off. And when she turned 3, she was able to switch from birth to 3 resources, which was therapy that came into our home, to actually go into a class setting. And we were so excited about it. But one of the things that I want to tell you is that with my daughter and many other kids, they need home health private nurses. Okay, so Callie has a trach that she breathes through, and it needs to she needs to be suctioned. And that trach is so skinny, like a straw, that if it gets clogged, that's how she breathes. And she doesn't understand how to communicate with us to tell us, like, to understand how important it is. So if we're not suctioning her constantly, if we don't know how to help her when she's in distress, you know, if she needs oxygen, there's so many things to it. How she eats is not through her mouth, it's through a G-tube. Another video here. So we need a medical professional to be able to support all of those things for her. And so when you want to take my daughter into a class setting, she has to be accompanied by a nurse. Now, the school district will provide a nurse. That is part of what they say they can do. But due to the pandemic, there is just a shortage of nurses everywhere. You see a lot of nurses in the hospital setting, but not quite in home health. It's really been hit one of the hardest, home health, and I also think retirement homes. And so the school district has shared that there's a shortage, they can't find any nurses. So if our home health private nurse that we get through our nursing agency cannot attend school, cannot work a certain day, then she cannot go to school. You know, she can't go to school unattended. And I've tried, I can't go with her. It has to be RN, it has to be a registered nurse. So just think about that. There's other kids out there that maybe live in rural areas that don't have nurse support. Therefore, you add on top, there's no nurse support in a school district, they can't go to school. They can't be in that setting, which I think is so important, because that is how my daughter has really thrived and learned the most, by peer learning. Her brain is still trying to process information, and I really do believe it's making up for lost time. She wasn't able to learn those skill sets that a lot of kids learn from 0 to 3, because I think that there was a lot of maybe headaches and pressure that she was feeling, but also she just wasn't in that environment. And so now that she had that surgery at the age of 2.5, we're seeing her take off and learn some skills that maybe kids might have learned at, 6 months, like learning how to swallow and eat, learning how to use her voice. That's something that she's really picked up lately. And it takes a lot of therapy. It takes a lot of support from her village, her nurses, her school teachers. But first, it's just a matter of getting her in that environment. That said, we're thankful that we have great nurse support. So she goes to school for 2.5 hours, a great school that has a class setting that's very inclusive, okay? So there's kids who have their typical learning kids, and there's kids who have medical needs that can go from anywhere from medical medical needs, the autism, to behavioral issues. There's a lot that falls into that bucket, but they might just have developmental delays that doesn't allow them, it wouldn't put them on the same spectrum as a typical learning kid. So the whole idea is that they learn from each other. They learn that not all people are the same. We're all different, have empathy. And our other kids are learning that I get to see how you respond to a teacher. So some of the things that Callie was really struggling with is, her attention span, sitting down for a long period of time, which could be 2, 5, 10 minutes, and doing a task. Listening to the teacher and knowing that they're saying, the whole class, we're gonna go sit on the mats. We're gonna do this song. And so simple commands and requests, it wasn't processing for her. Color recognition, how we use our voice, and seeing the kids use their voices, seeing the kids eat by mouth. These are all things that she's learning. And so she really learns by observation. And I think a lot of kids learn that way, but maybe for her, it's even more observation and repetition. She really has to see things maybe more than 7 times. They might say 7 times learn a new skill. I believe for her that it might be, I can't say a number, but it's more than that. So we have to make sure what she's doing at school, we're doing at home, the parents are doing, the nurses are doing. It's just a lot of communication and a really strong plan again amongst all of us. So how do we come up with the plan? So for any kids who have developmental delays, they put them in special education. And for her, that comes with, not just for her, for all kids, it comes with the IEP, individualized education plan, program plan, all the things. And so she's got a full team that we work with. She's got an occupational therapist, a speech therapist, a hearing, so audiology, because she also has hearing loss. So like the team is big. She also has her teacher in her classroom and her para. So that's her team. And we had to go in and they had to go through a series of tests for her. Some were asking us as parents, can Callie respond to a simple command? When she hears her name, will she respond? Does she understand these colors and knows what they look like? And can she sort? So there's just different things that apply. When it came to her motor and her movement, can she alternate legs when walking upstairs? Can she go from sitting to standing on her own without support? And so they would ask us questions, but they would also work with her for about a half hour and just take her through activities and got to see firsthand what she could and couldn't do. And then so from there, they came up with a plan. Here are some skills that we think that she should know and learn at her age to also help her interact with her classmates, but also what they'll be learning around this age as well. So what we did was had two goals for each bucket. There's communication, there's social and emotional, there's gross motor movement. So there's all the different buckets and we have 2 goals. One of her goals is to be able to go from sitting to standing without any support. We also want her to be able to alternate her legs when going up the stairs. And what the therapist will say is that we need to see her do it 2 out of the 5 times we see her to be able to say that's a goal achieved. And we get to offer feedback and say, that's a goal that's not important to us. That's a goal that actually we'd like to see her do. And we have buy-in. And once we all agree on that goal, it becomes her IEP. And then we have our check-ins every, I think it's like every year. We do it at the mid-year part, but you also can be vocal and say, I want to do IEP check-in. Let's see where we are. Let's get feedback. I'm thankful that a lot of the therapists on her team, communicate with us on a monthly basis. And we also have the nurses who are like our eyes where we can't be there to share, she actually did this today, she did this last week, and here's the activity that we're working on. And so it's amazing that she gets that, because I think that's really helping her thrive and set her up for success by having a nurse be with her. And you might be wondering, what do the nurses do? They're really there just to be her medical support, to suction her if she has an emergency situation, to be there to help her. We're really trying to get her to interact with her classmates and be in the class setting and not lean on them. But they're a security blanket as well. I think there's comfort there knowing that they are there, especially in those first few weeks of being at school. She loves school now. And I know that the nurses help with some of the activities they do, whether it be hey, today we're gonna color, and they'll let the teacher lead it, but they might just help redirect her. And so they're not taking the place of the teachers, but also again, they're our eyes and allow us to know, here's what she's doing at school. And then they'll take projects that have been done at school, and we can work on them at home. So she's like any other kiddo in the sense of, I feel like, you know, learning at this age. She's 4 now and really soaking up knowledge and learning new skills from others around her. So what we like to do with her to really encourage her when it's time to learn a new skill is to make it fun and playful. She loves dancing, she loves music, she loves her busy book. And so we will try to take the busy book and engage with her so they're at the table. So it's a quiet time, we're dedicated to this, and you know, have her sort through the colors, have her place it where it needs to be. Take some breaks maybe to dance and have a little dance party and like, oh, come on, let's go. It's time to do more. We're not done yet. And do that over and over. She also thrives on a schedule and a routine. So we mimic what we do at school at home. So if school has 15-minute increments where they have table time, where they have recess, they get outside, we do that at home as well to keep that schedule and to keep her understanding that home is also a learning environment. Okay, so I hope you learned something today, learned about IEP, how that works, how medical children go to school and how important nurses are, you know, how my daughter learns a new skill and how important it is to be using repetition, create a good routine, to make things fun. All right, well, leave a comment below if you learned something new, something in this video that surprised you, but also you have a question that you want me to cover next time.